I am Priya. I am a diva, a mom to a junior high schooler, which will change whenever you watch this video later. And I'm also a registered dietitian, and in my registered dietitian practice, which is insurance accepting, I help my patients connect the dots between knowing and implementing lifestyle practices in the areas of eating better, moving better, sleeping better, managing their daily stressors better, implementing actions in a doable way, because we all have access to information, and as I usually say, information without implementation is clutter, right? So with that context, this month's theme is actually concentrated on how to use nutrition so that each of us can reduce our risk of recurrence, because we are a group of cancer thrivers, and it's so very important that we do what is in our power to keep the cancer cells at bay and not even allow them to get into our system. So here is the objectives for this whole month. You will learn and implement how to apply evidence-based recommendations and select cancer preventative foods in a way that is doable and acceptable to you in your daily life. You will identify at least 3 ways that you are able to incorporate plant foods that are cancer preventative, and as I mentioned, you will also learn how to confidently apply the recommendations in your day-to-day life. AICR is one of the oldest non-profit organizations in our country, and this is their recommendation in a nutshell. It's about the whole dietary pattern. It's just not about a single food. It's about how you are nourishing yourself each time and how you are including a lot of plants as part of your daily eating habit, and then cut those sugary drinks, avoid or limit those sugary drinks so that you can lead a cancer-free life ahead. So a quick glimpse at their recommendations. Some of my divas may be very may relate to this handout or might have seen this before. I would like to start here. One of the recommendations that they provide for cancer prevention and for us cancer survivors reducing the risk of recurrence is to eat a dietary pattern or follow a dietary pattern that is rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits and beans. We will concentrate on certain type of vegetables that have been evidenced to have a lot of anti-cancer properties as we step through the remaining 3 weeks. The second recommendation that they provide is to limit the consumption of red and processed meat. Limit, not avoid. So we will get into the details of what is that amount that is okay to include. The third nutrition recommendation that they mention is limiting consumption of sugar-sweetened drinks, just because having a lot of sugar-sweetened drinks really messes up your metabolism. So there are different types of cancers. Some are genetic, some are not. For most of the cancers, it's metabolic driven. So paying attention to any sugar-sweetened drinks will help regulate your metabolism. Limiting consumption of fast foods and other processed foods is another recommendation. And for us cancer thrivers, alcohol, any amount is not recommended at all. So, you know, the recommendation these days is no alcohol drinks. So we will discuss about that too today. Supplements is another area. So if you are having any supplements, they recommend to actually consult with your healthcare provider to make sure that there are no interactions with any medications. And then doing all of these, right, the nutrition recommendations along with being physically active will help you reach that healthy weight, which is very unique for each of us. And keeping within that healthy weight will actually again help reduce the risk of cancer and cancer recurrence, right? So we will come back to this couple of times as we move ahead. So how many of these recommendations are related to nutrition? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And all of that leading to a healthy weight. So around 7 recommendations are actually nutrition related. So the food that each of us have is so key to reducing the risk of cancer and keeping cancer recurrence at bay. So what does AICR recommend? First and foremost, they recommend to eat a plant-forward diet, right? So what does that mean? If you have been to any of my previous classes, you would have heard fill up half of your plate with veggies, right? AICR actually takes it one notch more, and they say that fill up 2/3 of your plate with vegetables and plants, right? So 2/3 of your plate with vegetables and plants, and all through this series you will get doable, simple ideas to keep moving towards that. We will get into the details of this. The second key recommendation is being physically active. Sit less, move more. It's as simple as that. How you make it easy for you is very unique to each of you. So being physically active, eating a plant-based or a plant-forward, plant-focused diet is the recommendation that AICR provides. And by doing this, you are able to maintain a healthy weight so that all of your metabolic markers are in place. Okay, so 3 key ideas here, nothing more than 3, because anything more than 3 is usually, I don't know, clutter. I can't handle anything more than 3, so I want to keep it simple, right? So let's get into the details. What does having a plant-focused dietary pattern mean? It's about eating whole foods, having foods that are very close to Mother Earth, how Mother Earth made, and including color, including nuts, including all types or all colors of fruits and vegetables as part of your plate contributes to eating that nutritious food. Now, sugary drinks and beverages. It is something that each of us struggle with, right? When I say us, including me, right? It's a process, and looking at the nutrition facts label whenever you purchase anything is a way to see how much added sugar is there in that bottle. Right? And when you see that amount of added sugar, ask for yourself, what is this sugar doing to my body? It probably will give you a spike, but then, you know, it's of no use. It definitely hits a certain part of your brain where you feel like, aha, right? But other than that, you know, it's not helping you. Again, those alcoholic beverages, which will become more so often in the upcoming months, right? So being aware of that is another key idea there. Mindful of portions and proportions. What do I mean by that? If you recall, a few seconds ago, AICR recommends filling 2/3 of your plate with colorful, plants, right? And then remaining 1/3 is what they recommend as animal protein, right? So it's only a teeny weeny amount of animal protein. Getting even your protein from the variety of plants is what they recommend too, right? And being mindful of portions, meaning, you know, if you end up going to Olive Garden, right? Where breads are presented, mashed potato is there. What else? What else would you get at Olive Garden? Pasta, right? So being mindful of proportions of, you know, food that you include. We will look at healthier varieties of pasta one of these upcoming weeks, and you know, there'll be a demo here on how to incorporate healthier pasta so that you can enjoy pasta. I love pasta. Pasta sounds so yummy and comforting at the end of the day. So I am not running away from pasta, but we will understand how to include healthier varieties of pasta. So being mindful of portions and proportions of food in your plate, it's about that awareness and connecting that awareness to action in each of our lives is a work in progress always, right? And being physically active, Thrival has a lot of exercise classes. Going to one of them, scheduling it and going to one of them. I love yoga, Tai Chi, I don't know, Aquafit. Will they close during the winter? Do you know? I don't. Indoor, right?
Over there by on the west side.
The Dr. Semes YMCA.
Yeah, so it's like the one that has the coffee all year long. It's the one by
the
neighborhood place.
Oh, neighborhood place, the Tri Point.
No, it's the street over. It's called Reese.
Okay, okay, I have not been there. I have not been there. So there is one that is there over. So, you know, going and experimenting with one of the classes is a way to keep yourself physically active. You can walk around, right, to keep yourself physically active, and green therapy definitely helps. So being physically active is another key thing there. As I said before, moving more, sitting less. That's the key, you know, for some of us who do desk jobs, right? These days there are those standing desks. So buying standing desks and keeping it on top of your table so that you're getting up from your chair and standing even for a few minutes definitely counts towards moving more and sitting less, right? And then, you know, keeping it up, that's one of the hardest part, I feel, right? And the nutrition classes here is a nice way to get that support, right? Get that guidance as you are moving ahead in your implementations. And the app that I use, which will be part of this series too, it will be new. I think it's going to be arranged weekly so that if there are new divas coming, they can also have access to it. So that app is a nice way to help you feel supported. I don't know how you feel. When I do a checkoff, I feel accomplished. I do it too along with each of you, right? I feel accomplished. And those small little lessons, they are very bite-sized. Knowing that we all have only very little time, I take a lot of effort to make sure that it's bite-sized and it doesn't run over pages and pages, right? So keeping it up is one of the hardest and challenging parts. Coming to the nutrition classes, getting that support that you need so that it feels more doable. You don't really have to do it all by yourself, right? The quick demos, the easy recipes that I provide here are a way for you to make it doable, as I always say, okay? So having a diet that is rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits and beans, making it a normal, right? Not like once in a while, but doing it every single day in a way that is possible for you is a way to adhere or to move more towards that AICR plate. And evidence, lot of research, right? Scientific evidence shows that, plant-based foods play a big role in actually preventing cancer and reducing the risk of recurrence to 60%. So include plants as part of your eating pattern, and definitely, the compounds in those plants, which we will discuss 2 or 3 of them today, do play a big part in making sure that, any of the carcinogens that is wandering around in your body is actually, pulled out of your system. We'll discuss a couple of phytochemicals today that play a role in preventing cancer and preventing recurrence, okay? So what are the different plant-based diets that is prevalent in our society, right? So this is the AICR's new American plate. That's how they label it. But you might have heard about flexitarian dietary pattern. What is flexitarian dietary pattern? Absolutely, it is flexible. So what part is flexible? It is this protein part, right? So flexitarians might switch between meat, fish, poultry, beans, right? So they'll have a variety of it, but what keeps constant is this vegetables, right? So 2/3 of your plate is going to be vegetables, and then you that 1/3 is going to be, either fish, meat, chicken. So some of you might really relate to this type of eating pattern, right? What is another type of plant-focused eating pattern? The lacto-ovo-vegetarian, right? They look at dairy and eggs as their source of protein, but the whole of their plate, they don't have any meat, they don't have any fish. Their source of animal protein is usually only eggs and milk or any of the dairy products. They might actually use a lot of beans and legumes as part of their eating pattern. So that's lacto-ovo-vegetarian. Mediterranean pattern, I think we had a series on that. Mediterranean pattern focuses a lot. The base of Mediterranean eating pattern is actually plants, right? Fruits, vegetables, legumes, beans, healthy fats. Meat actually comes at the top of the Mediterranean period. There is only little bit of meat. They have lot of fish. Seafood and fish comprises that protein that they include, and Mediterranean eating pattern has been evidenced to really protect our body against many of the metabolic diseases, including cancer, right? So again, the emphasis is on plants, whole grains, vegetables and fruits in the Mediterranean eating pattern. Then we have the pescatarian. They usually have fish as part of their eating pattern 3 to 4 times a week, and for the remaining days they might use beans or legumes, right? So pescatarians rely a lot on seafood and fish for their protein sources. So that's the pescatarian. But if you notice, in all of these eating patterns, what is constant? The vegetables is constant. Your protein source can change, right? And then there is that vegan eating pattern where everything comes from plants, right? So depending on what a particular person might believe or have been raised with, it's always possible to follow one of these eating patterns. And as you correctly identified, it's the plants are the constant. You can vary the protein sources depending on your preferences, right? So that's the whole idea here. So that's a glimpse about that plant-based dietary pattern. The second recommendation, if you remember in that colorful blue handout that we colorful blue picture. It's part of your handout too, that will be emailed to you. It's limiting fast foods and other processed foods, right? Any of the fast foods or processed foods are very, very high in simple carbs, in fats, and in sugars, and they all contribute to that unhealthy metabolism. And research says that just one fast food can really load your body with calories that is energy dense, less nutrient dense, but more energy dense, and it can actually be very close to the calorie needs that you might need for a whole day. Right? So, the big, what is that? The Big Macs, all of those, right? Their calorie count is like really huge, but energy wise, the calorie limit is very high. Nutrient wise, they are very low, right? So, whenever each of us might stop at one of those fast food restaurants, I told us, including me, right? We make a conscious choice to include the plants so that we can be mindful about the empty, energy dense calories in the food or in the plate that we might choose to have at those particular instances. And some of the ways how we can limit fast food. Who here loves chips? Me too. Decrease consumption of chips, right? And look for better chips. These days you have baked chips. There are varieties of chips that you can have, and always pair your chips with healthy dips, right? Either guac or I don't know, hummus, right? So pair it with that so that you feel more satisfied rather than having those empty, simple carbohydrates, right? How else can we limit processed foods? Cookies and candies and ice cream. I will have ice cream today, but so limiting that, right, doesn't mean that you have to avoid it. Limiting it, measuring it out and having it mindfully, joyfully is totally different than taking that whole pint, right, and sitting and eating it. That's totally different. And having that cookies or candies after your meal and, enjoying each bite rather than having those cookies and candies as the first go, right, will actually help you be mindful of those. Fried foods is another way, limiting it, and instead of going for the big fries, going for the small fries, or asking for better variety of fries. These days, I think most of the places will give you sweet potato fries, right? So choosing that, and again, being mindful about the portion, having your plants first and then going for the fries so that you don't empty the whole portion, right? Those are the ways by which you can decrease and limit some components of fast food. And what will you do in place? Having handful of nuts. If you're looking for crunch, some of my divas say, nuts doesn't feel the same as chips. I was like, of course it will not, because it is not manufactured, it is not processed, right? But nuts do come with protein, fiber, omega-3. So, if you need the crunch, maybe having lesser quantity of chips and having some nuts on the side and mixing and matching might help. What else? As one of our divas mentioned here, having vegetables and having a nice dip along with it to get that crunch. And then, of course, that fresh fruit in place of cookies, or, when you get one cookie, if you need more sweet, having a fruit on the side is another way to help you there. The next recommendation, if you recall, is limiting the consumption of red and processed meat. Research says that processed meat, eat little if needed. That's what they say, right? The processed meat meaning sausage. What else? What else are some of the processed meat that you... Hamburger, right? Eat little if needed, is the new recommendation. Red meat, it is evidence that eating more than 18 ounces of red meat and processed meat weekly can increase your cancer risk, right? It doesn't say, avoid red meat, right? But being mindful about the portion. So you may ask, how much is allowed? If you eat red meat, such as what? Beef, pork, what else? Big. What else comes under red meat? Lamb, right? Yeah, venison, right? All of those, red meat, limit the consumption to no more than twice a week and having smaller portions, 3 ounces, right, each time. And as I mentioned, processed meat, eat little, if any. For example, if you are making eggs, sometimes taking a small slice of bacon and nicely mincing it and putting along with it is totally okay, right? But having that small slice of bacon every day, you might want to think about it, right? So, the idea is, if you choose to have red meat, having not more than 3 ounces each time, twice a week. So that would be around 6 ounces of red meat, and processed meat always only a little. Avoid it because of the preservatives in there, also because it's processed, right? So avoiding it is always recommended. What can you do to limit your consumption of processed meat? In the Mediterranean eating pattern, meat is considered as a side dish, right? It's only a little on the side. So considering your meat as a side dish rather than looking at it as the major component of your plate is a way for you to change that mindset about that meat being, a big portion of your plate. Go meatless now and then. This past week, I ordered a takeout and I chose to have cauliflower wings. Yeah, they are tasty. They are tasty, right? So, going meatless now and then is a way for you to explore the variety that is available there. Another meatless appetizer that I experimented was made of tofu, and it did taste really good, right? We'll have one of the weeks where I will demo how to make tofu. So it's coming so that you can see how easy it is to incorporate tofu as part of your eating pattern. How else? Load up on the good stuff, of course, right? Load up on the good stuff, so that, which is usually the plants, and skip the processed meat, right? That's how you can limit the consumption of, meat. So really kind of changing your mindset is the way to make progress or make forward movement here. Limiting consumption of sugar sweetened drinks. Go home and see if you have any sugar sweetened drinks lying in your fridge or in your pantry. Ask yourself a question, what can I do? Can I keep smaller bottles? Can I keep lesser? Can I give it away? Can I pour it in the trash? You ask the question, because if it is there in your environment, either you or someone that you love is going to have it, right? So make sure that your environment is healthy, so that healthy choice becomes the easy choice, right? So drinking a lot of sodas, lemonade, sugar sweetened beverages is evidence to impact your metabolism. So having water instead. Flavor your water, right? Putting a couple of lemons inside it, or putting a few strawberry pieces inside it, or mixing some coconut water and normal water together, right? Or diluting your sugar sweetened beverages. That's the first step, I think, for you to slowly let your tongue get used to a different level of sweetness, right? So those are the ways for you to start, the fruit infused water What else? Lemon water, tea, unsweetened tea. Green tea is very, 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 very healthy for us. So 1 or 2 green teas every day with some lime squeezed or lemon squeezed. If you don't like the taste of green tea, is a way to go. Even black tea or any herbal tea is totally fine, right? Coffee, of course, I love coffee. I love my cup of coffee in the morning. But when you have your coffee, see if at all you use any creamers, if there is any added sugar in that. Again, always buy unsweetened so that you can add if you need to. So that's, enjoy your coffee, but be mindful of the sugar that you put into it. If you use creamer, as I said, look at the added sugar or measure out your creamer. Like I had one of my patients say, I just pour it so that there is no coffee and it looks white, right? But, looking at how much creamer you use and making sure that it's a sugar-free one, or use half and half and then add some, water to it, however you want to enjoy your coffee with no sugar. Alcohol. The most recent recommendation is no alcohol for us cancer thrivers, right? So for cancer prevention, it's best not to drink alcohol. But you know what? It gets presented in every situation, right? So how do you have tools ready in your pocket so that you are prioritizing yourself and not getting influenced by the environment there? So here are some tips for that. How to lower your intake. Be aware that at restaurants and bars, the serving size is usually bigger. Anyone notice that? Right? They do multiple, the other day, I went to a restaurant and they offered wine. So I had a sip and then, they kept on refilling it. I'm like, no, I am done. Right? So being mindful about the serving size and saying no to multiple servings of it, right? If you go to one of those Mediterranean countries, red wine, it's like this much in their glass. Like it's at the bottom. It's like, I don't know, 1 ounce, 2 ounce. That's the serving. But here, the serving sizes are huge. Another way, as I said, order small sizes and avoid asking for double. If somebody comes and pours it, with all due respect, say, thank you, can you please take it away, right? So having those tools, those mind talks ready when you go to those situations is very key. Sip slowly. Right? If you need to have a conversation while sipping, sip slowly. Don't. Again, drinking it first is usually the culprit. And I have seen there are no alcohol alternatives now available in any restaurant, including non-alcoholic beers. I had a musician who came the other day, so he plays, a lot in the community. So he's on this path of getting healthier, and he said that he experimented with a non-alcoholic beer and he is not going to go back to the alcoholic beer. It's much more tastier, it's much more enjoyable. So if you go to a restaurant, always ask for non-alcoholic drinks, and they all will have it. Okay. Supplements, a big thing, right? Do not or be aware of the bold claims made by supplements. Supplements are not regulated. It's one of those not regulated industries. So aim to meet all of your nutritional needs from whole foods. And you know what? When you fill up 2/3 of your plate with plants, you will get all of those, right? And whenever you need to take any supplements, always let your healthcare provider know. Okay, so that's the one recommendation that I always give to my patients. You never know how the different supplements are influencing your biomarkers, so always ask your provider, right? Don't go by the bold claims. I think I'll put the bold in red. Bold health claims, do not fall for it. Be aware of that, right? And filling your plate with nutritious plants will definitely help you get all of that. So that's the AICR plate here. 1/3 of your plate animal protein, even less. 2/3 or more of vegetables, fruits, whole grains and beans. Why do we fill our plate with plant foods? Many of the bioactive compounds in plants do help calm the inflammation, helps detoxifying, and also helps in reducing oxidative stress. I know these are big words, but if I can try to put it in simple terms, right? Detoxification is how your body, which is your liver, your kidneys, remove the toxins, remove the metabolites that are not health supporting for you. For example, for some of us who had breast cancer that was hormone positive, right? We don't want any of the hormones, right, wandering around in our body. So the bioactive compounds in these foods, including the fiber, they have the capacity to remove those unwanted hormones that are wandering around in our body out of our system. So that is, in simple terms, what's called detoxification. Oxidative stress is our body, just like how a piece of iron might rust, right? There is that wear and tear that happens, right? Oxidative stress is the wear and tear that happens in our body, and those bioactive compounds kind of behave like oil that you can put on a piece of iron so that it doesn't rust, right? So that's the idea there. A few examples: flavonoids. There are around 6,000 bioactive flavonoids in the plants that help with these. Sulforaphane is huge in cruciferous vegetables. We will look at one of them next week. That's the magic compound that really helps reduce inflammation, detoxification, and oxidative stress. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why you want to fill up your plate with lot of plants. As I mentioned, phytochemicals. Phyto means plants. The color in plants is because those colors help the plants to shoo away their prey, the enemies of the plants, right? So when we have those phytochemicals, the idea is it helps protect our body from diseases, from cancer. So they allow our cancer cells to self-destruct, right? It's called apoptosis. It allows our cancer cells to self-destruct. It actually stops any of the carcinogens before they have a chance to develop, and then it blocks the development of any new blood vessels that may actually feed a tumor, right? So there are hundreds of reasons. These are the 3 reasons, or I think there is one more that I felt is very, very important, so that each of us can stay cancer free and thrive and be healthy in our life ahead. Okay. Okay, one more thing, it does prevent DNA damage, which is very closely linked to that oxidative stress too. Fiber, all of us know about fiber, right? So that fiber, at least 30 to 35 grams of fiber in your everyday eating pattern helps to lower cancer risk. And the most recent AICR report has shown that each 10 gram increase in dietary fiber reduces your risk for colorectal cancer by 7%. And that's a huge number. That fiber helps you go every day. And when everything is smooth out there, there is nothing that is blocking your your large intestine. So that fiber plays a big role, and it all comes from that 2/3 portion of the plate. So we are actually, getting better. We are moving from half to 2/3. It's much more there, right? That's the idea there. And here is a colorful picture. So 2/3 of your plate is plants, and then that 1/3 or less is actually animal protein, right? So that's the idea there. And how can you move towards an AICR plate? Sneak in plants wherever you can. And that's what we will see through the demos each week. You can see multiple examples here on how to include more and more plants. And as I am getting ready to demo here, let me show you the recipe and then come back to the mixed berry smoothie. Anyone experimented with that before? Okay, where is my glove? Any blender works, okay? This is not an ad for NutriBullet. I happen to have NutriBullet at home. So what do I have here? And this is a recipe. Make it your own. A mixed berry smoothie never disappoints you. I have unsweetened almond milk. I know some of our divas might be lactose intolerant, so I bought almond milk, but feel free to use milk. I did buy some frozen berries from HEB. When it is frozen, it's more budget friendly, right? So I have summer berry blend here. It has raspberries, blackberries and strawberries, right? And I have wild blueberries here. So those are the two varieties that I bought, but feel free to buy any berries. And in place of sugar, I have dates. Dates is rich in one fiber, has potassium, magnesium, a lot of minerals in there. So in place of sugar, I have dates. What else? I have chia seeds. Chia seeds do have protein in them. 2 tablespoons of chia seed has around 5 grams of protein. So that is plant protein in there for you. There is fiber too there. And then I have hemp seeds. Good source of healthy fats, again magnesium, potassium and protein too in this, around 2 grams of protein in 1 tablespoon. So you can see that it's going to be a whole food based smoothie. Some of my patients, oh I forgot, there is almond butter too in here to increase the creaminess of your berry smoothie, okay? And some of my patients ask, can I add protein powder to it? I was like, of course, if you want to add protein powder, go ahead, right? So what I'm...
have to cook the hemp seeds?
No,
Like
it can, yeah, it's already, very, very gentle. So I'm going to eyeball here because I forgot to bring a cup measuring. I did shake the almond milk. Do we have cups? I did.
Can the almond butter be substitute with maybe sunflower butter?
Yeah, any butter is totally okay. Sunflower butter, peanut butter, macadamia butter, cashew butter, any plant. Yeah, peanut butter, anything is okay. Okay. How much, depending on whatever they say in the, usually if it's whey protein, they say 1 scoop. If it is any plant-based protein, it's usually 2 scoops to get that 20 grams of protein, right? Going to add a little bit more. so that, thank you, each of us can enjoy it. And then chia seeds. If this is a high speed blender, so the chia seeds get blended into it. But if you don't have a high speed blender, go ahead and soak it. Okay. So I forgot to buy a cup. Bring a cup. So I'm going to use my hands as a cup today. So around that much. And then the summer berry blend. As I get ready with this, true or false? True. True? Yeah. According to AICR research, what portion of your plate needs to be plant? 2/3. I'm looking for, there it is. And then name 2 ways phytochemicals help reduce cancer risk. How do plant chemicals help you reduce cancer risk? Detox, reduce the oxidative stress, right? So that you protect your body against any of those wear and tear happening. And when you have phytochemicals, they help remove the carcinogens from your body too. So summer berry blend, handful of that. And then I do have spoons for the remaining. So going to change my gloves so that I don't get messy. Hemp seeds, HEB, bulk. If you go to the bulk healthy living aisle, you can actually scoop out hemp seeds. They do have chia seeds. They do have flax seeds too. If you love flax seeds, which is another anti-cancer compound, you can put that too in this. So dates. I got major dates, but any kind of date is totally okay. And I picked this from HEB too, because I didn't want to buy a big box. I picked how much ever I needed, right? So if you plan that, okay, 2 days are going to be smoothie, then, you can pick up, 4 dates and not worry about. So a tablespoon or half of hemp seeds. Half tablespoon of hemp seeds, 1 tablespoon of chia seeds.
You don't need to toast the chia or do you toast
As I said, this is a high-speed blender, so it gets blended. If it is not a high-speed blender, you can soak it. So that, and then finally almond butter and dates. Scoop of almond butter.
So you purchased the almond butter at AICR?
Yes, everything. Yeah. Yeah. I usually like to buy small portions so that, it's not lingering around in the home and I get fresh each time as possible, right? And then dates. These are pitted dates. If there is pit, you need to remove it. But these are pitted dates. depending on your sweetness level, you can do 1 or 2, experiment with it and see how much sweet you need. And then I'm going to use my strength to close it. I don't know, Ivory, if you need to switch off the sound, because this will make sound. So in. I think I didn't close it fully. Pardon me. Stops by itself. I can remove my gloves. You ready? So the action coming up in the app for this week is include a cup of berries of your choice every day. Can do that, right? Yeah. That's the entire objective of my sessions. If you feel I can do that, I have done my job. Thank you very much.